When I was creating my journals a few months ago, I created the graphics in Canva and put together a graphics bundle and made that available for you for just $5. Some of you have already gotten your copy. So in today's video, I decided to use some of those graphics. Welcome to my channel, friends. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new, thank you so much for returning. So before I started, I did a search on Google, botanical vintage bouquet picture frame, and it popped up these beautiful vintage frames, and I clicked on the one from Wayfair, and this is what this one looks like. Vintage wildflower, and that gave me some inspiration. I really just wanted to see if I would find anything using the same search term. So let's jump right in. I had picked up about 10 of these boards at Target dollar spot for $1, and I'll be using this one right here. I'm just removing the string at the back and the tag. And then I'm going to paint. I'm not giving it a full coat, neither am I going to strip it. I'm just going to give it one light coat to cover those painted areas. You're not going to see it, but of course it's green, so I don't want it to show through the paper. So I'm just using the white paint to cover it. And once I applied the paint, I then dried it with the heat gun. Now here is a stack of graphics, some vintage mushroom, some fall, some Christmas, and I have them in different sizes depending on the size project that you're working on. So having gone through the stack of choices, we're going to settle on this vintage bouquet, and I'm using some bamboo strips as my border. So I place the strips down on the edge of the board, mark where I needed to cut, and then I also marked where I needed to cut them at an angle. And after I cut all 4 pieces, I am going to place them on a piece of painter's tape. I started out using this Martha Stewart metallic paint, but as you can see, it's not showing. But then I realized that I needed a base coat, so I painted it with some white paint. And then you will see in the end that I had to change the final paint because this shade in the metallic paint was not working. So there the strips are all painted and dried. So now it's time to apply my graphic to the board. So I'm using some Mod Podge and I'm going to spread that until it was very tacky. And then I placed the sheet on top of that. Just make sure that the edges were evenly placed. And then I use my hand to just smooth that out. And then continued on with the rest of the board, just applying the Mod Podge, allowing that to become tacky. And then just place the rest of the paper on top of that. Use my hand to smooth that out. And then I use a piece of parchment paper over that with the heat press to reactivate that Mod Podge and to seal the paper on. If you're enjoying the content so far, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. And any action that you take on the video signals to YouTube that you enjoy the content and they will recommend it to more viewers like yourself. Next, I took some antique wax, a little piece of sponge, and I'm applying some of the antique wax close to the edge of the board, just to blend that in and to cover the white. Now you can cut off the strip of white border if you want to. You can also paint the board in a darker color just so you have that blend. But I'm just using the antique wax to just blend that in. And then remember that we're going to add our strips, so you don't need to go too crazy with that. But then, of course, it's your project, so you do it as you see fit. So once I blended in the antique wax on the edges, I am now going to apply, I'm just applying a coat of the Mod Podge on top of the paper just to seal that in. And then after I did that, I dried it with the heat gun. And when that is done, now I'm adding the strips. So there you can see that I changed the color of the strips because the lighter color was just too pale. And now I'm just gluing them down, and I use some clamps to clamp them and keep them in place long enough so that they dry. I use a little hot glue as well as some cement glue and glued those on. Next, I took some rope and just went right around the frame because there were still some sections that I could see the blue underneath, so the rope covered that. And then for further embellishment, I made a small bow from a piece of plaid ribbon that I found in my stash. I added a piece of mesh ribbon, you know those mesh ribbons that Dollar Tree has. I cut a piece of that, added it, and I'm now adding some of these beads I got from Dollar Tree as well. And these vintage DIYs can be used all year round. It doesn't have a signature on it that says fall or Christmas. You just put this up and you have it going all year round. And that's gonna be it for this one. No, then I flipped it over, added a piece of rope for hanging, and that is it for this one. Let me know what you think about this. You'll see more of this in the final reveal. So this video is a part of the Shabby Chic Vintage Fall, and this is hosted by Dawn from Shabby Meets Bling, Monica from Up All Night DIY, Annie from Crafting with Indiana Jones, and Kristen from The Fifth Sparrow No More. Links to their channels will be down in the description box below, and you guys know the drill. After you're done watching my video, just click the playlist link and watch the other videos starting from the top down. So this is one that I did in the beginning stages of my channel. I told you guys that I love reversible. I just believe that you can't leave the other side of your project undone. There's always something else to put on it. So I'll be reusing this one or repurposing this one. So I'm going to take some white paint. I'm only doing one side. I'm not doing a double-sided one this time. I'm only going to use one side, so I'm just covering the letters or the words in the middle of our section here. I'm not going to do a full coverage like I did for the first one, just covering up the paint that can be or might be visible from the on the paper. So once I did all of that, I dried it, and then I'm gonna tear the edges of my paper. And I'm tearing because I don't want the sharp edge. And if you don't want to tear, you can also use like a sharp edge, like a ruler, like you see me doing here, and then just tear. That helps as well. But either way, if you don't want to cut with the scissors, you can just tear. And then once I've torn that, I decided that I wanted to bring a little bit of the color from our paper. So I'm going to add some linen tulle from Folk Art, and I'm just going to stroke this on. I don't want full coverage, so I put it down first, and then afterwards I took the chippy brush and I'm just drying it. It hasn't dried yet, and I'm just going over it just to lift up some of the paint so you can see the original paint peeking through. And once that was done, I'm now adding the Mod Podge to put my paper down, just like I did for the first one. I'm doing the same process here. Just add the Mod Podge until it became tacky. Then I put the paper on top of that, use my hand to smooth it out, and then use a heat press to reactivate that. Now that is done, I'm now going to embellish. I got this beautiful gingham ribbon. It's very light from the Dollar Tree, and I thought that that would be perfect right here. So I'm going to add a piece to the bottom and a piece to the top. So I just use a little hot glue, place the ribbon down, cut off the excess, add a little glue at the back, and just glue that down, and I'll do the same for the top as well. Next, I took my handheld Hardell drill, and I'm going to open 2 holes at the top. Now you can do your hanger this way, or you can glue it on at the back just like I did for the first one, but I decided to drill my holes on this one. So then I took a little burlap bow, glued that in the center, and I thought it needed a little bit more greenery than other than what was already on the print. So I took some boxwood pick, cut that down, and just glued them under the bow just to add some contrast and give it some depth. Now then I flipped it over, and here I'm adding a piece of brown paper to cover up that side, I use the Mod Podge again as my adhesive. Now you can use school glue, you can use a hot glue. I wouldn't recommend the hot glue because then that's gonna make it bumpy and you don't want that. And then I took the sanding block and just sanded off the excess. Now to cover up that little piece of white that's showing through on the sides, here I'm going in with some antique wax and just distressing that a little heavy and a little light along the edges. And then here I am adding my hanger using a piece of macrame cord. And this is what it looks like, my friend. I love it. You will see more of that in the final reveal. Now let's move on to our last one, which is a little smaller. Here I'm using another piece of my graphic and I'm tearing again. I love this one. It has a lantern with some pumpkins around it. I'm going to use also that little mushroom there as well. And here I'm tearing out my graphic. This is a canvas that came from a pack from the Dollar Tree. To break up that white on the canvas, I went in with the chippy brush and the linen tool again, a little heavier this time around, and I'm just stroking that up and down, and then I squeeze the bristle of the brush and then just distress the edge of the canvas. And I thought that the graphic needed to be distressed as well, so here I'm just going over it with the brush and a little of the paint. Not too heavy. You still want to keep your design and make sure that it's still visible. And then I flipped it over. I'm going to use the school glue to add that. And then just put that down in the center. And then just use my finger to smooth that out. I am so sorry, guys. I thought I was recording when I added the ribbon, but I got that roll of ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And you saw where I glued on my mushroom there. I pulled apart a clothespin and painted that white, and we're going to reserve that for the back. Now to give it some dimension, I'm cutting down this fall leaf and adding those mushroom right to the stem of the mushroom. Just kind of poking them inside the ribbon because it wasn't all the way glued down. Then I added some berries on top of that. Have you liked the video as yet? Now would be the perfect time to do that. If you're coming over from any of the other channels and this is your first time here, oh, welcome. I appreciate you coming over. If you're enjoying the content, go ahead and like it. This does help the channel. So here I'm now going to add the clothespin at the back so my little plaque can stand. I opened it. We're still keeping that metal piece in the middle. Then I glue down the flat part that has the metal piece. Add a little hot glue to keep the metal piece inside, and then glue the other piece on top of that. Then I added a small bow and a half of a bead, wooden bead, painted that with some Waverly moss, just a little bit, and then glued it over my bow. And that's it for this one, my friends. You'll see more of that in the final reveal. Now here comes our scripture, which is one of my favorite. Jeremiah 29 verses 11 and 12. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. Now here we are for the final reveal. Guys, let me know which one of these 3 vintage projects was your favorite today. I believe the first one was mine, but that's just me. You let me know which one was your favorite and whether or not you're gonna try it. The link for the graphic bundle is in my description box below, as well as the journals are on Amazon. Favorite, and remember to check out the host channels as well as the playlist down below. And there you have it, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. I enjoyed crafting with you today. If you enjoyed the video, Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more creative projects like these. And tap that notification bell as well so you never miss an upload. Need more inspiration? Click right here for other fun DIYs. Happy crafting, stay safe, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye!